We call to order. Mr. Maloney, chairman, will be a little late, so I'm Barb Erlin. I will send in for you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Oviedo is absent. Sullivan,
Here.
Maloney, to be late. Hempler, here. Wyland, here. Madani,
Here. Okay. We have a quorum. Now, item 4, approval of minutes from previous meeting. I gotta get to the. Okay, what's your pleasure? Move to approve.
I have a name. I would like to have my comment. It was misstated, and I would like it revised to.
Okay, but we need a motion to get it on the table. Is there a second? Do you want to second it and then ask for correction?
Sure. Second.
Okay. Jamie, on the question.
So how do we go about?
You can just ask for, if you'd like to have a correction to the minutes, you'd like to propose a correction to the minutes, and then that would be an amendment, you vote on the amendment and then the minutes.
I'd like to request a correction to the minutes in regards to the statement.
Under which item?
I'm not sure. I don't have that here. I just listened to the minutes, and it's not a complete sentence.
What is
So
your-
what needs to be added is that it's not going to put heads on beds in the Weston area. That's what needs to be added to the
Is it item? I don't want to assume which item. Which item in the minutes?
Oh, it was reflecting the prior event.
Okay. So you would like added to your comment that the event, that you didn't feel that the event would have overnight stays? Or put heads in beds?
Is
Okay,
exactly
I
what it
didn't
said.
follow. I didn't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, it's good in there. I listened to it.
Okay, so trustee Wyland would have an amendment to the minutes to add that comment under item number 12. Madam Chair, would you like to ask for a second to that amendment to the minutes?
All right. Do you have a second to that amendment to the minutes?
I'll second.
Second by Madani. Okay. On the question? Well, I have one other, they can spell my last name right.
That's a grammatical thing that we can do.
Yes, they got it sometimes, but not all the time. No biggie, sometimes people like to put the M before the R, so it's just looking places I'm not really. Okay, on the question, on the motion as to amend the minutes. We had a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. That's what amendments, right?
Yeah. Opposed? Motion to amend the minutes as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. We did that already, never
Yes.
mind.
Yep, now you just would have to vote on the minutes as amended.
Yeah. Motion, the minutes as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Motion has been approved as amended. Okay.
One moment, Madam Chair. Dino, do you want to, you can join up that front, we're in tourism. And then do you just want to reflect minutes at 4:54?
We know
Join.
when the finance meeting at 4:54. Finding on the spot here. We didn't get past the minutes. Okay. Item 5, public comments. Anyone have anything they would like to comment about? Yes.
You go first.
You want me to fill the thing? You know who I am. I mean, I'll still say who I am, but.
State your name and address.
Jim Pensignal, 5002 Arrow Street. Good evening. I'd like to speak in opposition to the decisions that were made after the June 24 meeting of the Tourism Commission, specifically regarding a motion to deny funding to the Wausau Pride event. My comment is not speaking at all to the topic of funding or not funding the event. That decision lies in the body of the commission. My concern is with the fact that there was action taken contrary to the wishes of the commission. I understand there may be language which allows the administrator or president to make decisions outside of the guidance of the commission, but to do exactly the opposite of what the commission voted upon is shameful and should never be allowed to happen again. I would ask the commission to revisit this language and see if it is really how you want to continue doing business. Because if so, there's no reason for you all to be here tonight if your collective voices and decisions will not be respected. Not a single person in this room tonight has all the right answers, but together we can collaborate, compromise, and come up with the best solution which is fair to all parties. That's the beauty of local government. It takes a cross-section of the population and allows ideas from multiple points of view to be heard and a collective decision made based on the input from everyone in attendance. Even those not on the commission are allowed to be heard, such as myself speaking in a public comment period. This topic is on the agenda tonight for discussion and action, and I would ask that my request be taken into consideration by the Tourism Commission. Failure to make these changes pretty much negates the whole reason why we have a tourism commission made up of multiple people. If all of your voices cannot be heard and a collective decision respected based on the input from everyone in attendance, then there's zero reason to be here tonight. Maybe the decision that's made tonight is just to disband the commission entirely. On a related note to the Pride event, when will the actual CVB application post-event report be completed by the event? All that is offered in the packet are some made-up numbers from an unreliable and unverified data set. Sure, it showed people came to the area, so does a full parking lot. It does not do one single thing to prove why these people were here. This tool could be useful to show general movement of people and devices from one location to another. However, it cannot identify their reasoning for doing so. I would tend to challenge the spending speculations provided in this report as well. There's no way to verify this. Please demonstrate how a $20 bill can be tracked from leaving Appleton at 9 a.m. and being spent at Fuzzy's Tacos at 12:30 p.m. It'll never happen. Finally, to see all these late and last-minute requests is quite disturbing. It's my understanding that the CVB should be assisting with tourism and events. They're paid a lion's share of the tourism room tax collected. Why are they not making clear to the applicants for requesting the funds what the process is? I totally understand the last-minute requests or some new event to the area that's not familiar with how we work and what we do here, but entities who've received funding through the CVB in the past should know the procedure quite well, and that their event takes place about the same time every year. It shouldn't be a surprise that Independence Day happens the 4th day of July every calendar year. Please consider this when discussing changes to the CVB agreement this evening. Thank you.
Okay, any other comment, public comments? Okay, is anyone on the Zoom? No. Acknowledge work product transmittals, June budget status report. I'd like to comment on that. Anything additional? Okay, what's your pleasure?
Move the group,
Do
budget status report.
you have a second? Second to Jamie. On the question, This is to approve the June budget status report. To acknowledge it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, CBB reports.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Tim White, Director of Wassa Central Wisconsin Convention and Visitors Bureau, giving you a report and going through some of the requested statistics, data that was requested to us. So just a couple of things in general. Obviously, the weather has been challenging. We've seen a number of weekend events this summer have had to alter their events or cancel parts of it. And that's challenging, but it also speaks to the resiliency, I believe, of our area and how we have a variety of different options for events and attractions and things to do. And so we try to pivot with what we do in terms of marketing and promoting the area based on some weather issues. We're having a great relationship with Green Neck Turner. We're continuing to look for opportunities to host more sporting events there, including the National Horseshoe Tournament that we're putting bids in for. Another little internal comment about some things that we're working on. As you know, we have a separate 501c3 called the Sports Authority. We currently have a subcommittee that's working on transforming the 501c3 into more focused sporting and outdoor rec event organization, be supporting area clubs and organizations that bring in not only the events that happen here already, but also new events and organizations to the area. Hushang Zagami is on that committee as well, so he is in the know with everything. Provided a lot of great input. From another internal thing, staff, our director of marketing took a new position in early May, and we currently have been interviewing for a marketing partnership assistant, kind of a hodgepodge type of position, jack of all trades. We've had over 70 applicants, and we're almost finished with the interviewing process. Can't believe how many applicants we've had, quite a bit. But it looks like some good folks out there. Another thing, externally, a couple of promotional things that are happening. We're working on a foodie episode where we highlight some of the area chefs. Looks like maybe Fozone will be part of that group, or they'll kind of do behind the scenes thing, talk about what they do, and then showcase those restaurants that have those chefs. We're building a trail pass that will include the Weston trails for people to discover and enjoy outdoor rec. Once the Kennedy Park things get, once that is upgraded, we'll look for ways to work with the village to promote that as well to people. The Ice Age Trail, as you know, you became an Ice Age Trail Alliance community, and I haven't checked in what the signage were, the signs that you got, where they are, but we want to take pictures of those. And the Ice Age Trail Alliance is going to use Marathon County as the main location for their big October Mammoth Challenge hike, which is October 12th. And so we're going to promote that really heavily. That brings people from all over the United States, and they stay overnight. So we're excited about that because they want to, the challenge is to hike 43 miles of the trail during that time. So it's easy, Barb, it's easy. Okay. You can hike part of it. And along with that, with an announcement like that, Jamie and I were talking about sending big events and announcements to municipalities to add to their newsletters. So at your discretion, if it's newsletter worthy, to send that out to your residents. It's just a nice little thing to do. So we'll constantly think of, what's a really good event, what are good things to share that you can send out in your newsletters. And then there was a request to bring data about the Pride Fest weekend, and those are in your packet. I'll explain those if you go to page 16. So, our data is, data is more accurate than it's ever been, but of course I can't tell you if Joe Schmo did this exact thing or that exact thing. I can give you some general data. You can see on page 16, we basically looked at visitor movement in both Rothschild and in Weston, because we wanted to see how Weston was affected by that event. Of course, other events, if there were anything, would be a part of that as well. Specifically, if you go to page 17 on the report, you'll see that, we basically looked at just a number of categories, things that visitors would do. And so one, the convention and meeting, the Central Wisconsin Expo and Convention Center was highlighted, and you could see a visitor resident ratio of that had a high amount of visitors. Outdoors, I believe one of the events at the Pride Festival was on the 400 block. Even being at the 400 block would count as outdoor rec. You can see that accommodations had a good number of people using accommodations, food, other attractions, some retail as well. If you look at where visitors came from on that weekend, you'll see on page 17 that a good number come from the Fox Valley and Green Bay, but then a big amount of people from Chicago came, Milwaukee, the Twin Cities, and other locations as well. If you look down at page 20, this is based on all around data, everything from credit card spend to hotel stays to social media, people saying I'm going to this, or people posting. Just it takes a whole kind of a melting pot of, like a crock pot of information. And you can see on those that weekend's events, the last number is the big number that just kind of shows how impactful it is for the local area for visitors. And the Wisconsin Raptors versus Wausau Woodchucks was a significant event with a score being 0 to 100 being an 86. The second one was the Wausau Pride Fest at night at the Central Wisconsin Convention and Expo Center. And then the Pride Family Fest, I believe, Galloway Days in Franzen, which I don't even know exactly what that is. That was a significant, important event as well. And then fourthly, the Wausau Pride Fest Family Fest at the 400 block ranked as 77. So in terms of the spending, that's overall for that weekend. That's particularly to Weston as in terms of the total visitor experience. You can see in page 22, the top locations, points of interest in Weston that visitors attended. Again, I can't tell you who did what because we don't have that kind of capability, or else we'd be under NSA probably radar. But we can tell that a good number of people that were visiting that weekend stayed at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Fairfield Inn, American Lodge, and the Baymont Inn. Those were the top visitor areas. And then we also looked at Rothschild because of the Expo Center for that event. And you can see the next page on 23, you can see the data for that. So that's the data that we have. And then, the issue about the contract, or the issue that came up with, I guess, the contractual things with the Village of Weston. Jamie and I spoke, was it Friday? I think. I just wanted some clarification because I wasn't sure about that. And we had a good talk, and just want to know that we appreciate making sure that the contracts, the procedures of things are in sync. And, whatever you need from me, just let me know. I'm more than willing to help. So That's it.
Questions? Comments?
Well, I did a little bit of my own research. I did go to American, they only had 26 rooms reserved on June 1st. And not saying that all of them were from many times either. I did go to, I was in that area, and I took some pictures and the parking lot is empty. I did call CW Expo and talked to Laura, manager in Jackson, and they stated that there are possibly 500 people there. On the grant application, they said that they would expect about 3,400. So, so I don't know these numbers.
Is that, or are you asking me a question?
I'm just making a statement.
Oh, sure.
I've done my own research. So I don't, again, I think these numbers are skewed. I don't think this is our equal software that you're using. It just sees trends and movement in the potential space. It's not very accurate.
Well, you might be expecting too much from data sets. The main thing is general trends. It can give you generalities. It can back up some, like we use data to help confirm things, especially like where are people coming from, so that we can market and promote to the areas outside of the Wausau area to market to, since our job is, I'm not defending any particular data set, but data is, there's an art and a science to it.
For those that haven't, can you just talk a little bit about how does it collect the data?
Yeah, of course. So any data company, and a lot of municipalities use like Placer AI and other data companies, and we've vetted a number of companies. What most data companies use, they'll use a number of different forms of information. They'll use near data, which is GPS tracking of cell phones for people. And again, that's people that have not turned off that they don't want to be tracked, because you can do that, certainly. It takes things like credit card spend, which is data that most data companies contract with. It takes federal stuff like labor statistics, local social media trends, like people checked in here. It really takes all kinds of data sets and puts them together. So like we can't track cash expenditures with money, with cash, but so yeah, it's not perfect, but again, it just gives us pictures of.
And there was a wedding at the expo center. So that's going to see what.
I think if we looked at any event in particular specifically, you're going to find ways to interpret it, in different ways. I do know that the Hope concert that they did, was it 2021? We had the data showed about 7,000 people participating. Is that about accurate?
Fair City, 8,500.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, 7,000 compared to 8,500. Well, again, I'm not defending that our data set is like 100% accurate, because it can't be, because you don't have all the data. Again, people who aren't sharing their data, people that pay cash. So, but it gives us a good idea. It's like this is a significant event, or something else is a significant event.
So Tim, maybe what would be helpful, and not at this meeting, but at a future meeting, is if you explain to this body sort of the nature of data collection and the standard that is used by groups like yours.
Yeah.
That you're not, in order to establish that you're not a professional outlier, just sort of say, these are the other bodies like ours, and they use similar tools and go forward from that. Because I think part of it is, like you were saying, data collection is a science and an art, and it's a new science and art to some people.
Yep.
So I think maybe at a future meeting, it would be cool if you could provide us with an educational presentation about the nature of that work that you do.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and again, I'm learning as I go too, so. Yeah. I can definitely do that. Is that, I mean, should I prep for that? Would everybody be?
See how this.
I would like the data that you're giving us explained.
Okay.
Because I can't figure it out.
Okay,
And I mean, if I'm out there on any given event and I'm not at the event, how does it not know that my data is not to be collected?
well, on your cell phone, a lot of times if you put a new app or something on, it gives you the option to, well, anyway, it's done.
I don't have no privacy on mine. I only have 1 or 2 apps on my cell phone. But I mean, if I'm getting food out there at Cedar Creek or staying at the Holiday Inn, how does it know that I'm there for that event or not?
Doesn't know that you're there. It just knows whether you're local or whether you're from out of town.
So, but it's not counting me to the event if I don't go to the event, right?
No, because the event has a certain POI, it's a place of interest, right? So it's mapped out, basically, like, for example, Rib Mountain State Park has boundaries that we put POIs on, so.
That'll go for the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you can send that data out prior to, that'd be helpful.
Okay, certainly can do it.
I just want to be clear what I'm requesting. I'm not requesting any of the data.
Any of the what?
Any of the data.
Okay,
If you want to do that and the body wants that, that's fine. What I'm requesting is that you establish sort of the means and the tools so that we can have a baseline that the tools you're using are within the norm of other organizations like.
yep,
I did ask him those questions in an email, and he stated it's these trends in visitor movements, potential hotels, and it's not an exact science, but more like an art.
Yep.
So.
And I think it'd be worth it for us to sort of have an educational plan about the tool. So because we can be as skeptical as we want about the nature of the data, but having little or no understanding of the tool or the methods with which that data is collected means that skepticism is unfounded and unfair.
yeah, that makes sense. Yep, more than happy to do that.
I don't know where this question is, but I had a question last meeting. And this question might be to Jody, not to you, Tim, because it's prior to you. But let's look at the collection of the money from the hoteliers, that 8%. So 30% goes to the municipality and it's used any which way
Yep.
we choose.
Whatever you
Then
want.
there's 25% that goes into our account, which is what Jody works with, and then we approve at this level. So 25, 30, so there's another 45% that goes to you, okay? So Jody, prior to this last contract that we signed, in the past administration, am I to assume that the 45% that goes to your group, does that ever go out to, like, would you donate money to, you don't?
We don't donate anything.
Okay, that's what I thought. Prior to this administration, did we?
No,
We did not.
no, the only grants that we would give out would be through the sports authority, through
Okay.
the municipality pool.
Just to clarify though, not donating cash,
Uh,
but certainly if there was a big event, you would take time to put together baskets or to put visitors guides in them, or maybe something that's stated plus a CBB that would be purchased with those funds.
That 45% is used completely to market the area and get more beds.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
Period. Okay. I guess I always assumed that prior, some of those funds, because I remember Dick Barrett saying that, well, we'll do it out of our side. I go, okay, but I'm not hearing that now.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Oh, well, it just came out of the 45%.
Ah.
So, or something else, but you would know,
Right.
because you were with them for
We,
years.
no, nothing like any
Did not.
monetary.
Okay, then I'm done. Okay,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
okay. So I have a motion to
Am I good?
acknowledge the CCTV report.
The CBB report though still has the data findings from loss of pride event.
Oh, I already
No, we're-
talked about it.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I can go over it with you.
nope, I'm good. So move.
Mark? Second. Second by Tommy. On the question? Okay. The question is, move to acknowledge the CBP reports. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, now it's all yours, Mark.
Okay.
I've been fumbling trying to get that moved.
Oh, you're doing a great job. So we're on education presentations and reports. Are the ball players still doing good? We just go in order? Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you passed out the candy. All right, so number 8, Midwest Bowl Fest. Is somebody here? Oh, Dale, how you doing?
I'm good, Mark.
I'm thinking like a protein bowl.
What's that?
I'm thinking bowl.
Dale Elliott, 5902 Schofield Avenue, Weston, and I want to introduce my daughter, who is the heir apparent. Her name is Sarah Elliott. She's here to get some education on how this all works for the future.
Sarah, you've been doing this for, I mean, as long as, my God, for well over 20 years, right? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
because I used to do it with you when I was at the store.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So this is our second year doing Midwest Bowl Fest. It's in October this year. We backed it up 1 week. Last year, you guys gave us $10,000, which we used. It's about 1/6 of our budget for that event. That went over fairly well. Obviously, we learned a lot of stuff, and we're going to bring it back again this year. So we're asking for the same amount. Again, we're putting on like 390 hotel rooms for a couple of days total. A good majority of the people went, stayed in all the hotels, also went to the restaurants. I got good feedback from the restaurants and the gas stations, obviously. The event went well. So again, we want to bring it back. I just wanted to also let you know, and I've got a sheet in case you want to know, but 2025 is going to be probably the largest bowling year that we're going to have. And when it's a largest bowling year, you're also going to get a lot of hotel heads and beds. In 25, we have the Wisconsin State Open Tournament. They used to call it the men's. It's now the Open because some ladies get to come. 16 weekends between 500 and 800 bowlers. That runs January 17th, concludes on May 2nd of this coming year. So that's 16 weekends, every weekend. All the bowling is at Weston Lanes. So again, the majority of the hotel rooms are in Weston. There will be, they used to do a $7 room night rebate. We will be coming back to you guys and also going to every other municipality with the host right fees coming up shortly. And then also wanted to let you know, July 9th through the 27th, we struck the USBC National Juniors Gold Tournament. I'm thinking some of you may have seen that in the newspaper, but it's Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh, Neenah, and Weston. They had to have us to get enough lane beds. It's actually running right now in Detroit. So they came and asked us to bid in 25, 26, or 27. And they just jumped on 25. And so we're going to be having about a 2-week period right here in Weston that is going to be awesome international competition. So we may not have to come to you for money for that one. It was the Wisconsin Department of Tourism had to get together with us because it's a really big deal. I think they had to kick in 60 grand to get that thing in here. So I'm not sure at this time if we're going to have to come to see you. But my reason here today is Midwest Bowl Fest, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
Any questions? What's your pleasure? Second by Jamie. Any more on the questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Awesome.
Thank you.
You
Jamie, I'm gonna
do
give
just
this to you.
spectacular stuff for this area.
I'm sorry.
Your whole place was just fantastic for all of us, so. Sarah, just keep it going, right?
That's right.
Good. Number 9, Corey, open the park.
It's great to follow Dale with all that he's got going on. Coy Sawyer, use my,
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's all right. It's all right,
No,
Mark.
I'm
It's
sorry.
been a while.
You corrected me many years ago.
I just call you Mike and then we're.
I know you do, I know Shirley.
Anyway, my personal address is Mosany, if you want that. If you want the station's address, it's 3500 Stewart Avenue in Wausau. And, Hope in the Park we started in 2021, and as Tim alluded to, we had about 8,500 people there. And then we had the rain year, which, it, no pun intended, dampened enthusiasm. And I know, radio, what are you gonna do? Last year was a good year. So we're expecting with the top 5 artists this year, around the 6,000 to 8,000 level again. And the reason those numbers came up, we had no idea. I'm terrible with numbers, but the Fair Board was there and very impressed. They wanted us to bring our concert to them. We won't do that. So again, this year it's August 25th. We promote the event all over the state with other Christian music festivals. We were just in Life Fest for 4 days this last weekend, and they had about 50,000 people there. And they're all a lot of them are travelers. Then we'll go to One Fest, which is in Cadott, the Country Fest grounds this year. They have great artists that'll be there, and that's August 1st and 2nd. So we're promoting. As a matter of fact, we make a Hope in the Park. That's what it's called, tent. Even though we could do it for the radio, we go to these events with our Hope in the Park tent, and we promote it at these different festivals. So we get people that come from Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota. So we know we get a lot of people here. It's a one-day event. We know people stay on Saturday night. We know some people stay on Sunday night. To give you specific numbers to go to this conversation you guys were having, I love that conversation because my head is spinning with how do you figure out who stayed where, when. I don't know, other than a questionnaire at every hotel for every event where that's mandatory. Are you here for this event? I don't know how y'all figure that out, to be honest. But if you have any questions, I'm prepared to tell you about our budget. I know I submitted that, I believe, Jody, the budget and the application. And so just open for any questions you might have. I'll just be upfront. We were so blessed to be able to have it completely underwritten the first year with sponsors. And part of my job is going out and getting funding for this event from local sponsors. And we're doing pretty good. So our budget sits at $83,896 for the one-day event. And so far we've captured about half of that at about $43,000. So we're grateful we're on that. We still have some campaigning that we're doing, fundraising that we're doing to break even. Last year we lost about $3,000, which is still a great gain. We feel like because of the event itself. But that's where we're at, and we anticipate that our total need, even with all the hard work that we do, will be between that $5,000 and $10,000 range is what we feel like we're going to end up needing to break even for this event. So
you will use the grandstand?
We do,
Okay.
yes.
Any questions from the commission?
I have a question. How is this going to impact the Weston specific revenue? How are we getting those over here?
Yeah.
It looks like you have Jefferson Street Inn, Holiday Inn Express noted, 0 pickup. That's Weston.
Yeah, I can't tell you Weston specific, although we did work with the Holiday Inn Express in 2021. And you'd have to go back to them to find out how they did.
Yeah, so they noted 0 pickup.
On 2021? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So they
Holiday
gave you
Inn.
6 comp rooms.
Yeah.
And you gave them 0 pickup.
Okay.
Yeah, Holiday Inn had it in there. I think we're halfway through this year, and I know we've got a 8-page memo from our attorney that we are going to revamp the rules of this commission. But we're halfway through this year, and I know you're on here new, and we've done a lot of stuff already. The balloons, the planes. We've done different things. So I think until we either change or suspend or do something else with the rules, I think as stuff comes to us, I think we've got to do it the same general sense that we are right now. Unless the whole commission disagrees and wants to start going with, what our attorney has said. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess you haven't come before the this commission?
No, I was real
Okay.
excited when I found out that this was available.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that-
first year.
I didn't think so, but I thought, well, I better ask. My concern is, of course, the rooms. That is what this is supposed to help with the room tax. And from what you're saying, you really don't show anything in the past. However, being this is the first time you are applying, my thought is, okay, but if you're gonna come back again, you better have some numbers.
Well, I think we're gonna have some different, regulations and rules, and Mary's point to, this 25% is supposed to be growing Weston stuff, so there'll be some different things on the table after this is, you know, are we gonna be doing the air show, are we gonna do the balloon fest, are we gonna be doing, Monk Gardens, when that comes back, cause it will be. And, there's a lot of that stuff that's out there that's in different areas that we've been kind of reaching out to, so, just so you know.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a problem that necessarily that some of it maybe isn't right in our backyard. But if it's big enough that it is bringing revenue to our hotels here, I don't have a problem with it. But if it is in Wausau, for example, and we're getting nothing for it, I mean.
I don't blame
have a
you. I don't
problem.
blame you. Yeah.
You know, so I'm just, my thought is that if you come back next year, have numbers or else.
Yeah, or just tell us the numbers after this time of year too,
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we see typically is our logo or the Weston Hotel logos on marketing materials. So there isn't anything included here or anything like that. Are we at a point where when I go home, I can see a website with our logos on it?
We can, after I filled out the application, I talked to our web person, and they're gonna add area hotels that have in the past worked with us, which would include the Holiday Inn Express. Obviously Jefferson Street Inn is already on that website, but for this area, I can certainly call those hotels and talk to them about our event and see what we can do to encourage their support, and we can encourage support for our people that are coming in from long distance.
We've got the Fairfield Inn, we've got the Holiday Inn, and then we have the one here by the.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So my question is, what sort of visibility do our hotels and specifically the Village of Weston gain from this event?
Up to date, nothing.
Okay.
Yep, to date.
So I think I don't know, not a 2021 probably isn't a very good comparison because everybody was very silly in that beautiful lot of stuff, right? So I don't really think that's fair year to judge. And as you can see from the picture that you posted, there are thousands and thousands of people, not 500.
Okay. Just on the side note, I happen to be in Ramon at the Lamb's Market grocery store, and I was delivering some stuff and picking something up at the service counter, and I had just gotten Julie's email on the groups that were requesting, and here your thing was right there. I guess I didn't look at it close enough to see who is all represented, but then you have some kind of a claim thing that they must have got for donating a year or two ago.
Yes, yes.
That was pretty, they've got quite a little deal going right there that you cannot miss it. Of the event. I was just surprised to see it right after she sent me the email.
Good time.
So pretty neat. Yeah. All right, what's your, with no more questions, so what's your pleasure?
I move to approve the grant request for $2,500 to the Christian Lake Communications.
Motion by Wyland, second by Erling. Any more on the question?
Just that they come next year and have some information.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
Corey, if you're gonna be putting stuff together just so it's more current, if you're gonna be gathering stuff in the next month or two.
Oh, yeah.
Send it right away.
Will do.
Yeah, that'd be great. Coy.
Mark.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more on the questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. So we have one opposition and five to one. Okay. Thank you, Coy.
Thank you, guys, and we'll do our due diligence for
Yeah.
2025.
Number 10, Sarah, with the youth baseball tournament, right?
Oh, Jim's name is on yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. little email about Sarah, plus I gave you the candy, so sorry, Jim. I would have gave you the candy.
No, very much appreciated and kept them awake for a little bit longer, so that's all good. Jim Olafson, 5503 Winding Creek Drive, Weston, President of Youth Baseball, Everest Youth Baseball, requesting $3,500 to help us support several of our baseball tournaments in the area. We just finished up a tournament this past weekend, despite a little bit of weather delay. It actually spread out the teams, and they stayed a little bit longer because of that. So good for us. But the tournament this past weekend, we had 15 teams, so a number of teams from outside the area. A good friend of mine runs the Janesville Baseball Organization. They had 2 teams here as well. Oconomowoc. We estimate between this tournament and the tournament coming up in a couple of weeks, about 120 room nights. There's lots and lots of family that come to these tournaments, showing by just the parking lot being entirely full this past weekend. Another huge benefit is we present our tournaments as splash tournaments. We give passes to the pool, which especially over this past weekend was very appreciated by all the kids. And that place was packed Saturday, at least until the raid, and then Sunday was a little crazy as well. So brought some members here too for 2 reasons. One, I want to make sure that they understand the process and that they and we as an entire organization show our appreciation for the process and for what you guys do, and understand that there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, and from taking care of the fields to all the things that you guys do to make our organization successful.
So is this down here? You know,
Why is there feedback?
I had to meet Jessica.
Oh, okay. So, why, is this a down year, or?
So we had 1 tournament already, but we're a
No, I
little.
guess my question is you're asking for less than we did last year?
We're really only requesting for our second and third tournament.
Why?
We were behind the 8 ball on a little bit of our information gathering. We hosted this past weekend was the state tournament for Cal Ripken.
But I've seen some of the emails going back and forth. You know, the timing is set up to be the perfect, convenient. We only meet 4 times a year.
Yep.
Sometimes you get caught. I mean, Dale, we've been doing this for 15, 20 years. And I think over just the last 3 years, you're hitting it 4 times a year now, you know, because I mean, we were always kind of catching it right when it was happening. So if we miss an event, it's up to this commission to help with that. You know, it's the Everest area. My gosh, what you're doing here is incredible. The stuff you're doing with the young ones, it's outstanding. So, what does it cost to have you put this on? You know, all 3 events or all 4 events?
So, well, our first event unfortunately was rained out, so we didn't have a whole lot of costs there. But between these other 2 events, our budgets are around 20,000 for the second 2 events. Between concession stand, field maintenance, we've had to order an awful lot more quick dry than in the past, those types of things. So, but we had record concessions this past weekend with a lot of participants, so that all those things kind of go in the same direction.
Jim, I have a question.
Yeah.
On your application here, there's only 1 Weston hotel.
Yes.
Can you give me some insight onto which other municipalities you requested grant from and how much it was?
We have not requested any other grants other than here.
Can I ask which facilities? Okay. Yeah, in the future, moving forward, we've got, 2, what are the one by Fields just turned 2 now? Comfort Suites. Comfort Suites,
Okay.
Comfort Suites, we have Fairfield in, and we have the Holiday.
Yeah, we can adjust that.
So we would appreciate it.
American.
The American, yeah, so we actually have 4, that's great. So if we just get some representation, that'd be great.
Sure, certainly.
Give a choice.
Yeah. Our Weston.
Yeah.
All of them.
I'm, whoever wants to make a motion, but I would definitely support, the motion being the last one, not the current.
I was just gonna ask
you making that motion?
Yes, I would move to approve the grant, for $5,000 to BCF area Little League Baseball and Cooperative Youth Baseball.
We have a motion on the floor by Wyland, second by Zagami. Any more on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for
very much,
doing
appreciate it.
You betcha. I'm sorry, but I couldn't handle that candy in my house anymore. So I was gonna bring it for the board, but when I saw all the uniforms, I thought, perfect spot, so. I'm sorry if some of you can't have it, so.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, you betcha. There you go. Good spot. Let's see, 11, post event report for GD's Playhouse. That you doing it? Or do we have something?
It's just in the packet.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Okay. That's why it's a good deal. I know, is Valerie online? I know she's heavily involved in that and among a whole bunch of other stuff too, so. But, that's a very excellent event, so.
It says in the report they had 575 attendees,
Okay.
and they met their reasonable.
Okay, good. Any questions?
Is there a way we could request a similar post report for all of them?
We should, yeah, we should.
We do.
We do? Okay.
The events have 60 days following to submit it to the CBB. 60 days following the event, that's correct, yeah.
We should have a reminder that goes on with them, so, yeah.
I'd like to ask a question, if we do not receive it, would you like us to reach out, or do you feel that that's their responsibility to get that to us for future funding?
Okay, and then we'll do a better job bringing it up here too.
If you don't receive it, would you send them the reminder and then copy me? And then we just know that it wasn't received in a timely basis.
I would like to add to that though, because, with baseball, I was informed that information was only given to them last week. The state league is very slow and old school and, with paper pencil, so that's not their fault.
Can you repeat that, I'm sorry?
They just got this information to respond and, and the state for the baseball, right?
Yes, yeah. So they just received the information last week.
They submitted their application on July 1st. I've been talking with Sarah, we've been going back and forth like last month, we've been working on different projects. She expressed interest that she was going to put an application in, and then I reached out to her via text, just seeing if she was going to submit before I would give everything to Song. And so she submitted on July 1st.
So we'll get that information out there more. All right, any more? All right, any more? Well, it used to be a couple of weeks prior, now that it's done this way, it's a lot. Okay, moving on to policy issues. Number 12, discussion and or action on attorney referral to review tourism entity agreement with CBB, village ordinances, and the process tied to the 5/20/24 Tourism Commission meeting.
Mr. President, Attorney Eady is here, and I think he's gonna come up to the table to join us to go through his.
Thank you, ma'am. I know it was a little late notice. I wanted this out to the commission, so it came out kind of late on Friday, I think. That's my fault. Should have had it out earlier. But it was requested of the attorney on one of our meetings that we had, that he just kind of review it, look at our contract, look at our bylaws, look at all the stuff we're doing, and he came up with 8 pages. So, I mean, it's a good, I thought it could have been 22, so 7 or 8 is actually pretty good. So I read through it several times, and we've got some, yeah, we've got some work to do.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
read a few times.
Well, I did, and
It took a lot to absorb.
I have very nothing attention span, but I think we've got a work cut out for us to get this straightened out, quite a few different issues. So, Jim, did you have a question? Did you get the answer before?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I believe that it's written in there that they have 60 days from the end of the event to provide feedback to.
Okay.
It's in the application that says by submitting this application for tourism dollars, I will send an event report back. And Weston Lanes did a fantastic job of that. They pulled it up completely and it had real data in it, not make believe, but, like the actual form is there to fill out. You just like put numbers in the box that are real numbers.
So we should insist on that, so those, when the request is here and it's a repeat request, we should be, saying, hey, you're not following the deal here, we need this stuff from the past times. So, good point. Okay. Matt, you wanna just kinda go over this a little bit, or?
I'm happy to cover
Yeah.
whatever part you want, but I think you have to decide what path you're going to take going forward.
Right.
So that's the thing, it's just they're inconsistent, there are three different rules that we have. The ordinance, the internal rules of the commission, and the contract, the agreement with the CVB are all three inconsistent. And so the idea is that you're going to tax hotels, right? And you get that money, and 30% of it you have the right to use any way you want. And the rest of it is supposed to go to events that are gonna fill hotel rooms in the same community that you just taxed to get the money that you are able to now use for these grants. So we never created a zone. So a zone could be created, and several years ago, I know there was discussion about it. I talked to Mosany in the city of Wausau, and they told me it was a no-go, so we didn't continue discussions anymore about trying to create a zone. If we created a zone, we would be saying that this area, this zone, is looked at by tourists as a singular destination area. And if you do that, you have one commission, and it's a commission for the entire zone. So whoever we would team up with, all the money would go to that commission, and that commission would then oversee where the money is spent within that zone. We do not have a zone. We have the Village of Weston, we have our commission here. So really, all of the money that we tax and that we spend should be used to impact hotel rooms in Weston. If it's not gonna impact a hotel room in Weston, we really shouldn't be using that money unless we wanna create a zone. Now, in the agreement, you've kind of created a quasi-zone. And if all the other municipalities are doing that, I don't see a reason why we can't do that as well. But that money then should be going toward, the zone money should be going toward potentially zone-related activities that would, again, impact Weston rooms. And the Weston Commission account really should be used for those smaller events, like maybe the baseball tournament, where you're gonna fill with, Weston hotels first, and it may not have much of an impact on the other hotels in our zone. So if we have an event that's going to fill zones all over the Wausau area, then every one of the areas should be giving money to this, to this event. Just like, we would if it was a Wausau event that was gonna fill up some hotel rooms in Weston. So I don't know how it's working, in the real, sense of it all. I don't know what other communities are doing. I was brought in a long time ago to take a look at this, and there's several memos from back when there were problems with the CVB, and there was a huge changeover that occurred there, back when they were deciding whether to create a zone or not for this entire area. But I haven't really been, involved since then, so I don't know really, what the other communities are doing. I don't know, initially I thought, I don't know how much money is going toward overhead for the CVB. I don't know how much of it's going toward the CVB using it to promote events that are huge events that affect the entire zone. But it sounds like the money's going toward developing literature for the entire area and not really used for events. That's what I got from being here earlier during the conversation that you had earlier here today. So we can do all sorts of things, but we have to be consistent with how we're going to do it. And if we really wanna create a zone, for this entire area, we should really get together with the other municipalities, create a zone, create one zone, one area commission, and treat the area like one area, and then, the downside to that, obviously, is you're gonna lose control over your money, and your smaller events that are gonna fill Weston hotels first, like baseball tournaments, may not get money from a zone, commission, so.
So, you know, the question.
Yeah, Tim, can you step up? I have a question for you.
Of course.
In speaking of this zone idea, are there examples of other regional bodies that are as Attorney Edy described, sort of a Fox Valley?
Yeah, the Fox Valley has a zone, that they have all their municipalities are under one commission, like was stated, and, I think, there's a number of other ones, like Eau Claire has it, but there's just a couple small, like Osseo, a couple small towns that have, I don't know if it's particularly a zone per se, but there's probably MOUs in place that, state that it's considered an area.
What is?
The Wisconsin Dells has a zone because it's,
What does Appleton, like, Needham and Ashland also?
there's 40 municipalities in that zone.
40?
Mhm.
So then all the small little ones, townships and villages around Appleton too.
Yeah,
But, I mean, does it go to Oshkosh or does it go to?
no, Oshkosh has their own,
Probably Needham and
see
Ashland
that.
to.
Yep, Needham and Asha, I can get all the things in the
Probably
zone.
get 40.
Yeah, and even ones that don't have hotels are a part of that agreement, because if they have a hotel, then they.
So are we legal the way we are now? You know, is that 30% apply in Fox Valley? Does all those municipalities get to use that 30% for whatever they want to use it for?
Yes, that's the statute.
That is, okay, so that's.
Right,
state
yeah,
statute.
each, right,
So the 45% that we get to CDP, is that considered helping out the hotel marketing side? You know, because we're only doing 25% to actually for events, you know, and so, that 45%.
Well, I mean, it's a closer call, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're exercising your discretion, you're saying by doing that, we want to create a little bit of a zone, we're in it for, for everybody. And we want to use that money to bring people to the general area, we think we're gonna benefit from that.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, if somebody were to challenge us and say, you're collecting all your money from Village of Weston hotels. So therefore, if you're giving money for anything other than filling hotels in Weston, I mean, whatever you give money for should impact the hotels in Weston, whatever those activities are that you're using that money to generate tourism for. Somebody could say, well, you're not following the statute. If you're going to create a zone, then you have to have all of the municipalities have to agree that this is a tourism zone.
So currently in your CDP, what your next is Red Mountain, Wausau, Weston, Schofield. That's it. Rothschild is not. They won't sign right now, and they're working theirs to be legal through Mosinee, correct?
Yes, they believe that in contracting with the Mosinee Chamber of Commerce, that the Mosinee Chamber of Commerce, in their eyes, qualifies as by the definition of a tourism entity, that they spend 51% of their budget on promotion and marketing to tourists and visitors.
So, there was, back when the law changed, there was, an emphasis toward continuing the tourism entities. And the issue came up in this area, whether we had to continue to contract with the CVB or not. The law says that if there was a tourism entity that existed as of the date that the law changed, you had to use that tourism entity within your community. So the city of Wausau arguably would have been bound by, by that law to continue to use the CVB since we're not in, since the CVB is located in Wausau, we're not, we had more flexibility, and I think the rest of the other municipalities felt that way too. And again, there may be a different point of view now with creating a zone. If the relationship with the CVB is a lot better now than it was at the time that all of this was pretty unsteady, it seemed, with the community and the CVB. That was probably 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I don't know how
Before
long.
my time.
It was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
there was, a lot of the municipalities were upset with the CVB, and that's when all this was, that's when the zone idea really, didn't get any traction. So,
And the two, that speaks to every individual contract in the municipality. Each of them are similar in essence, but might have one or two things that report, like whatever contract we enter into, how many times do you want us to report? How many, what kind of things do you want us to do for you? I mean, that's the difference of the contract. The other point too, based off of what you were saying, there's been only one challenge really to CVB's legitimacy, and that's been in the last couple of years in Manitowoc. And Manitowoc, Two Rivers. What's that?
To a CVB, not this.
Yeah, the Manitowoc city government withdrew from the Manitowoc area Two Rivers CVB. That's been dragged out in court for 2 years. The final ruling was May, I believe, and the judge stated you must contract with them.
So would Weston get the most services from Schofield and Mountain and Weston?
Well, what we do is we take a
And why I'm asking that is because we pay the most.
Yeah, so you don't pay the most in terms of dollar amount.
No, but we
You pay yep, and so what I do with that is I look at how can we promote Weston in terms of the attractions and the opportunities that are here for visitors to take advantage of. And so everything from helping to develop destination development with the trails and the waterway systems that you have, the Green Heck Turner facility, which we've been working hard at with Aaron on bringing events as well. So we take a look at the resources that you have, right? And
You're working with the
Turner? Yeah, we're working on a horseshoe bid right now, which will bring a huge economic boom. And of course, your hotels will first and foremost benefit greatly.
Barbara,
Sure, I had a question for Attorney. So in the 8 pages, and just in this discussion, you sort of outlined both policy and procedure areas that I'm gonna use the phrase inconsistent, outside of sort of best practice, whatever, inconsistent. So do those inconsistencies need to be remedied, both in respect to the statutes that sort of govern this body from the state or from the external, and then as well as to create internal policies that, bring those inconsistencies in line? Is that something that we have to do?
Well, I think that it's going to require both the village board and I think this group to straighten out some of these things. The internal rule around the approval process, right? Does this group want to reaffirm that process? Or do they want to go with a different process? If they want to go with the internal rule process where this commission would decide whether a request is approved, then, reaffirm that as your rule. Make sure that it's, in the minutes and well established that everybody that, is a new person on the commission knows that that's the process, and then amend the agreement to include that as the process. So there isn't any inconsistency between the agreement and the internal rule of the commission.
So then, does that inconsistency within both practice and the agreement, for lack of a better phrase, make that agreement null and void? I mean, if challenged, is there grounds to challenge this body's actions based on our inconsistencies And would that challenge lead to that contract being disbanded or made null and void?
I don't think the contract is null and void because, you know, it was agreed to by the commission and also by.
But
the
we can
board.
change, this is coming from one meeting
Right,
where I came back and approved
Yeah.
some funds.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's not what I'm basing my.
Oh, no?
I mean, I can't imagine that the CBB would have any problem whatsoever with amending this language of the agreement, so they probably would not care how that happens, you know, with this group here.
But upon further challenge, that would be, we are at risk for losing a challenge of someone stating, or challenging our internal processes, regardless of the past events.
I think that, that issue of the internal procedure being different than the contract, I think that's already happened. It's already over. I don't think there's anything at this point. The only challenge that I think somebody on the outside could arguably make is they could say that any money that you spend for any tourism promotion development that doesn't directly impact stays at Weston hotels is illegal because you haven't created a zone with other communities.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah. So I think that would be the one area of challenge where somebody would say your contract is contrary to an interpretation of the law, which would again be up to a judge to decide whether it is or it isn't. But we could have created a zone by
And
statute.
like they're gonna like stop by his house.
In Weston hotels, and you're doing that, you're violating that by doing this or that or the other.
That's right. You want to?
No, I mean, I think that what would be of value for me is if the attorney could give us a prescription going forward of what you and I just talked about. So how to resolve the layers that we have in front of us. So we've got this document and it lays out our troubles. And then if we could, have a document that equally lays out paths forward.
Jim, did you?
I was just gonna ask for maybe a special meeting.
Yeah, we could do it at this, on a quarterly, but we'd have to have a special meeting. If you wanna do like a doodle poll or something like that, where give us some time to digest the same page and come up with some ways and get together.
Yeah, I guess my thing is that we get it so it's consistent, not, contradicting ourselves throughout the thing. But, I guess looking at like a zone, and you have one commission, that commission is going to have expenses too. Are we still gonna be with the CBB then? Or is it a whole different?
That's all discussion.
That's all discussion, but you gotta remember, however you go, I mean, they have expenses, I mean.
If Wausau is in your zone, you would be with the CBD. Yeah. If Wausau's not in your zone, then, you might not have to, but you would have to if Wausau is in the zone because the CBD existed, I think.
And I don't personally have a problem, I'm just gonna use the Moan test as being, contributing to that, even though it's in Wausau, not in Weston. But we get a lot of hotel rooms from that. So I don't have a problem doing that, but I do have a problem with some of these smaller ones that it's a small thing and it's happening in say Wausau or wherever, and we're getting nothing or such a small amount that it doesn't justify.
Well, I mean, I think from a policy standpoint, if you're looking to create a quasi zone. You have to know that somebody might challenge it someday, maybe not, maybe it doesn't get challenged, and maybe even if they do, it loses, because, you know, you're still maintaining some of that money in your other Weston account that's gonna go toward those Weston things. But if you want money to go to events that happen in Wausau, where there's gonna be some effect, but not as much as, say, in Wausau, to the hotel stays, then maybe that's what you use the CVB money for, the 45% that you give. I mean, you know, really, you know, that, the bigger share of the money, maybe that's used for the bigger regional activities, which is consistent with using it to make literature for the entire area. Use that pot for any giant events that occur outside of Weston. And then use the smaller pot for just events where Weston hotels are gonna be filled first.
But does the event have to be in Weston?
Well, they probably,
No, as long as the hotel.
it doesn't happen, but I mean, but if it's not in Weston, they're probably not gonna fill up first, right? They're gonna fill
Right,
up
well,
wherever
see, that's.
they are.
I'm running into
Yeah, but why don't
some
we let that go into that next meeting here, because we're already past.
Yeah.
Okay, any more, you know?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So if this body decided on, a path forward in which we either create a new zone with local municipalities or simply join with the existing municipalities that already exist in Tim's kingdom over there, that would be a decision that would take place contractually with a discussion that would happen here, and then it would go through the whole board of trustees.
I think,
Parts of
I think the board would probably be interested in your thoughts and recommendations, but ultimately the board would be deciding, you know, whether there's gonna be a zone or not. So.
Okay. And then and while we do this, we should also have, like we're talking about all our committees and commissions, is getting on the committee and commission, because the first meeting that Mary was at here, I handled it wrong, and you had questions, and but there was just no starting manual, no nothing, no procedures, and Jim was talking about that too with HR and finance, or the Clips committee, too. So.
Well, I don't want to, but I do have to ask, in my back of my mind, there was a clause that was added to this, which allowed the administrator and or president to approve, but that was never that it had a chance to go to the commission. It was something came up and it was something within our realm that they could approve, and then just, you know, but this was different.
Well, it's in violation of the board. It's why.
But I mean, there was a reason why there was that.
Well, we already voted, and then I changed.
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of what you need to do is decide, again, whether that internal rule is gonna be reaffirmed, and then under what circumstances does anyone else have the right to approve if the commission can't meet? You know, just make a detailed rule about what the process is going to be, and then we'll be in good shape.
I mean, I think it's also an interesting sort of situation where the chair and the village president are the same person.
Then don't vote me in.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But don't vote, then this commission shouldn't vote me president. See, in my way of changing that vote, nobody's actually heard this yet, is I made a mistake by not letting it go back for an approval, which I would have then voted to approve. And that just didn't happen. Because it sat, right, it failed, and that's where it sat. And so afterwards, after we talked about it several times, I realized I made a mistake, and it's good to get your opinion here, so, yeah.
So there is a section in there about that too, about recommended procedure.
Well, we can change that, yeah, we can change that, but I always thought it was the president of the council and the administrator, you know, because of a timing issue with the CBB, but it actually states the chair of this commission and that, so.
And it's or, it's not and.
Right. but it's all three, and so we should eliminate one.
But the other part of that was no negative motions, so everything should be positive.
Yep.
And if you have a small group like this, all you gotta do is say, there's an application for a grant for this amount. Who's in favor, raise your hand. Who's against it, raise your hand. And just do it that way, tally the votes. You need more votes, obviously,
Right.
than negative
Well,
votes.
Dino had a comment the next day or two, to have a parliamentarian too, which we are gonna be discussing that too at our meetings. So we get the course of action correct. Okay, with that being said, we get done here.
No, I'm good.
Anybody else, anybody? No? All right, get it moving, you said? Oh, okay, I heard you. Discussion and or action on tourism schedule?
So I brought this up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in. So I think that, I mean, even tonight, what we're experiencing, is a negative thing. So I think that, our tourism board schedule times aren't properly formatted for open meeting rules. They're an open meeting rule, section 192 or 119.84 says that a meeting has a time and a date. And on our public notifications, it simply says this meeting will start at the end of the other meeting. And so I think that that's one, it annoys me because I don't know when to get here. And two, I think it is outside of the open meeting law.
We'll address that too. Yes?
Attorney Edie is here. I'm not sure, don't want to spring the question on. I can share that in lots of my government experience, we've had meetings that are immediately following. That doesn't mean that we can't set a certain meeting and then the meeting has to adjourn because the other meeting is going to start, or we pick a different day.
Well, I mean, just this evening, I had no idea when to come. Traditionally, I arrived at 5 o'clock and this meeting had begun before I got. And so without proper, in my opinion, without proper dates and times for these meetings, I don't know when to get here. So
I think just put a time in and just say, or as soon as the prior meeting, finishes after that time. So that they know that there is a time that it's not gonna start before that. So that's what I would do.
But a meeting can go over, because right now we're currently.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
The only downside would be if somebody, showed up late because they didn't know it was gonna start earlier, so put the earlier time down. Or as soon as the prior meeting is finished, so that they know it's.
When we put it in this format, we rush the meeting at the end because we can't finish all the items. Right now, we have another meeting, board meeting coming up, and we passed 6 o'clock, and we are not finished with this agenda. So we're gonna push it to move faster to get to our meetings. I think better off to have that time in there, that window in there, and stay with it.
Okay. All right, resolution ordinances, seeing none, future items, next regular meeting date is
Okay,
October.
wait, hold on, I asked for an action on that.
Yep.
So can we set the time and the date for these meetings going forward?
Oh, I assume we were going.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
even the future item, it is October 21st, 2024 at 4:15 PM, immediately following finance and human relations.
Yep.
I make a motion to set meeting date, time for the next agendas.
Tourism. And that's number 13. So we have a motion on the floor because it says discussion and or action by Ermeling. Do we have a second?
Second.
You? Okay, by Wyland. Any more on the discussion?
So can we have a little conversation? When is a good meeting date and time?
Well, the meeting, the same date.
The same
You want
date.
to say date, but you want a specific time.
A specific
Yeah.
time, just kind of in general, think about, because I know it can run over like.
Huh?
I would say,
No, I'll do it later. I want to work on this for a little bit.
you have it though, right?
I mean, I would say give
So-
it an hour.
Yeah, 5:15. Because I thought 5:15 was gonna be plenty of time for me to get here today, and then I got a call at 10:02, then let's go, chop chop.
And I got a call, are you coming? I said I want you.
I told you 5:50, because I thought 5:15
And I
was
came
right.
at 5.
Yeah,
And we had to miss an agenda item because we didn't have a quorum for closed
Yeah.
session, so.
Okay.
But, okay, so
So
we will
let's-
set a
let's do that.
specific time for tourism based on finance agenda. We think finance agenda is gonna take an hour, then we'll do 5:15. We think less, we'll set for
and
5,
we can float it, but as long as we have a date.
as long as we have a specific time.
Yeah.
So that is how you normally do it. So you already have a time in there, so that is fine, the way you have it. So I think more what we're asking for, you're asking for is, I guess, a later time so that they don't have to wait around.
This is wrong.
No, what I'm asking for is, we're gonna meet second Tuesday at 5:15. That's the level of specificity I would like.
Yes.
Because we have that level of specificity in the Parks Committee, and I feel bad for the trustees that they're waiting, but every other meeting that I'm aware of has a start time and that it's held to.
That's true.
And so I would prefer that we have a start time specific to this meeting. I do not prefer to have the language indicate immediately following finance.
I think we got it. I think we got it. So time is right. So, motion, in a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, so now let's move on to, future items. 14, next regular meeting date will be October 21st, 2024 at 5:15. That'll be changed.
We will have time to be determined on the agenda, but we will have a
Yes, we'll
specific.
notice the time for the next one because of what finance and human resources they should do. Okay? Let's see, topics for future meetings. Anybody have any? No?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't attend, you recommend that sometime when, I can.
Yeah, well, we'll get that before that. Yeah, because we have to have a special meeting prior to that.
I put down that we'll have to send out a doodle poll to
Yes,
ask for a good
yes.
time for them to, for a special meeting, just
See
to
where we get
discuss
a
it.
majority of people here. Yep. Okay. Remarks from staff. Any remarks from staff?
I had one, I just wanted to show the Golden Knights, which is the Army's parachute team that was here for Wings Over Wausau, presented us with a plaque. And you'll see that it is signed by all of the current Golden Knights. So I thought that was very nice, that they presented that to us for our donation to the event. And then they also sent a thank you card, just saying that they appreciated our support.
I thought you were gonna be talking about wild hogs. I think the members is part of the Golden Knights. Okay, well, that's great. We'll just put that up. Any remarks from commission members? None? Any announcements? Hearing none, looking for a motion to adjourn. By Ermeling, second by Wyland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 6:17.